I am filtered to the gods right now. No, I have my favorite party look filter from TikTok, which means it's going to be a short video. The last two videos were unfiltered. I thought my skin looked pretty decent, I'm going to say. Like I said, in that previous video, I've been using the Trader Joe's retinol serum, which I am so scared they're going to end up discontinuing it. By the way, I am wearing the same shirt that I had on. By the way, if you can't tell, I love that Daria shirt, and now I guess this is becoming a favorite. Like, I just want to feel cute, so I'm like, let me put this shirt on. So I'm wearing it anyway. Ooh. No. This video is actually going to be about being the non-threatening fat girl. I have been wanting to do this video. I hadn't pre-planned my thoughts right before I did this, so if I'm all over the place, forgive me. So, I've talked before about being treated like I'm invisible a lot. I've been treated like that by men and women. Women in the case where very clearly they, quote unquote, didn't feel threatened by me as this. But if I were to, everything else about me is the same except like knock about 100 pounds off of me, it'd be like, yeah, I wouldn't leave her alone with my man or something kind of attitude. And not because I'm just like such a badass bitch or anything, but just there, all of a sudden you become threatening. There's a few stories I want to tell, but some of them I'm going to hold back on because they hit a little bit too close to home. So I want to tell this one story. And this is just about, okay, I'm going to say this about being the non-threatening fat girl. Many years ago, I read this magazine. It was like First for Women or Women's Weekly or whatever it was. You know, those little magazines that on the cover it says how to lose 50 pounds by next week. And then they have cake recipes in there and it's crazy shit, whatever. And it comes out every week and stuff. They used to be, when I was a teenager, they used to be like $1.50 to $2 or something. Now they want like $5 for those things. It's like, y'all. But anyway, they had an article about this woman who was over 400 pounds, had weight loss surgery, and she told her story of how people interacted with her through her journey. And she was still very plus size, like, and at no disrespect, but she was still a good 250. But she said that when she was 400-ish pounds, she could be as flirtatious as she wanted to be with men, and they didn't take her seriously. It was like, haha, she could say something like, hey, what, I was going to say something really inappropriate, but you know what I mean? Like, so, let's just say Monica Lewinsky was going to be involved. But, she would like proposition men, but jokingly, and they would just take it that way. Well, when she would even remotely flirt as a more attractive, quote unquote, doable fat woman, then it's like, hey, yeah, why not? Like, all of a sudden these guys are like, coming on to her. And I can definitely say that is the vibe when you lose weight. Okay, I 100% will say that. I think one of the things that some women do that's really stupid, I'm just going to tell you, is assuming that your man will not screw a big girl. I am like, girl, like I said, it's some stories I want to tell, but they hit a little bit too close to home right now. Nothing I did, okay? But like things I know about other people, but I'm not going to go there. I'm just going to say that it's a running joke, men will screw a hole in the ground. So quit kidding yourself. Now, as far as who he maybe wants on his arm and wants to show off to his friends and so on and so forth, that's a whole different thing. But as far as just having sex, especially if this is a guy who doesn't get a crap ton of offers or yeses, then he's probably going to be more liberal on who he's intimate with. And as I've stated before, there are a lot of very pretty big women. So miss me with that, like as if you're a big woman and it means you're not attractive. There are some beautiful big women. But about the non-threatening fat girl, okay, I do have a particular story I want to tell. So when I was growing, well, yeah, when I was growing up and into my earliest 20s, especially, I was like kind of a casual dressing big woman where I was, wearing t-shirts and baggy, I can't say leggings, joggers, whatever, and just not really emphasizing my body and everything. And then somewhere along the way, I realized I need to like, or I got into dressing more feminine and realize like even a really big body can be beautiful and can be sexy and all of that stuff, so I started to get more in touch with my femininity. And I will say I did notice men treated me different when I did that compared to when I was covering myself up. So I've always been a big proponent of if you are a big woman and you feel like men do not pay you any attention, start dressing yourself up. Okay. Now, here's the sad truth. If you were slim, you wouldn't have to do all that. You could literally go outside, not even, I was going to say with chapstick, you don't even have to wear chapstick. Just go outside and a guy will probably try to talk to you at some point. But when you're a big woman, I do feel like it helps to put the goodies on display. Okay. If we want to talk about it, I'm just going to, and I'm not telling you to dress like a what do they call them now, 403 or whatever. I'm not telling you to be revealing, but show off your, like, for one, it seems to give off a look of confidence. That's one, but it also reminds people that you're a woman. I'm so sorry, I'm sick right now, like I told you guys in that previous video, so I'm starting to choke up. But it reminds people that you are indeed a woman. And I don't mean a woman from a, like, political standpoint. I don't mean like that, but I mean a woman like, because as I mentioned, when you're very big, people try to take away your femininity. I mean, it's a trip how that works. It's just like, I'm going to be honest with you. It's just like, I think like if a guy doesn't have a lot going for himself, and let's say he has female friends, but he's not very a catch or anything at all. Or at least that's how they see it. I think that they try to take away his masculinity and try to make him a girlfriend. And I think like when guys don't think you're attractive, they try to make you, at best, if they're going to associate with you, they try to make you into one of the guys almost. To some degree, not saying 100%, but to some degree. And then when you lose weight and you get more attractive, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, hey, where have you been? Like, you can definitely get away with a lot more stuff as a bigger woman, and it just be taken as a joke compared to as a smaller woman, and depending on what we're talking about. But that magazine article, I've been looking for it forever. This isn't, I'm kind of going off on a tangent because it's like this kind of ties into so many different things for me. And it reminds me of another subject I wanted to talk about, which is when I was on my weight loss journey where I lost the over 100 pounds, I had this older woman that I think a lot of this woman, I think very well of her. She's someone who her weight has gone up and down over the years too. And she's always been very kind and supportive towards me and everything. And initially when I was losing weight, she's like, oh, way to go. And oh, you look great. And oh, I love this for you. And you're so beautiful. And you've always been beautiful and all that. I got to a certain point on the scale and she told me very seriously, and mind you, the smallest I ever got down to was 209 and I'm 5'6". And I was a size 14 at 209. Okay, and I wasn't even there yet when she said what she said to me. She said that I needed to stop losing weight, and she meant that shit. And I think that that's because I started to make her feel funny. Because, and this is not normal jealousy, I don't think. I don't think this was like, oh, you're going to steal my man. She was a married woman. I don't think she was thinking along those lines. I think it was more like, now if you keep losing weight, you're not going to be the fat one anymore. And that's one of the things that can happen when you lose a lot of weight and you have these friends or family around you that felt comfortable as you being the fat one.